All right, everybody, welcome to Carolina Conservatives. We are Preachers with a Punch, and we are thrilled here today to be talking to the rest of the candidates for the Guilford County School Board. My name is Dr. Nathan Street.
I'm Pastor Alan Mashburn. Thank you for joining us. It's a joy to have you candidates come and take time out of your Saturday and discuss these hard issues with us. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Street to begin. I'll pop back in just a moment.
So we've got a slate of candidates. So we were talking with Chrissy as well. And so we've got a slate of candidates that have joined together called New Vision, New Direction. And these candidates have determined that they are going to work together and help each other to get elected to the school board to overturn the Board of Education in Guilford County Schools. We already have one member here with us, Linda Welborn. And so we're happy, Linda, you are here with us. We also got Robert Millican, who is running for District 8. Linda's running for District 4, correct, Linda? Am I right on that?
Correct.
And Tim, you're running for District 6.
That is correct, District 6.
Great. And so Tim Andrew here, and then also Dr. Daniel joining with us, because we always want to give a biblical perspective here on Preachers with a Punch of everything we do. We always want to tie back to the Bible. So we want to hear from you guys. And let's start with Tim. Tell us, Tim, why a candidate slate that you all joined together as a team, which is, by the way, picking up across the state. You all were the first to do that. So Why did you decide to do that to begin with?
So a school board is exactly what it says. It's a board. An individual candidate has no authority. The board has authority. So one person going on the board won't change the makeup of this current board right now. There are 5 seats in this election, 2, 4, 6, 8 at large. So if we want to make a change in the board, we need to change more than just one seat. Preferably, we need to change all 5. So we got together to saying that, we're of like mind. We want to see changes. And, I'm looking at school board meetings. I'm tired of seeing Linda and Anita fighting and being ignored by the rest of the board. So this is time for us to rise up and make a change. And again, the focus is on the children, not political agenda or anything else like that. My son is a graduate of Guilford County Schools. He received a good education, but there are decisions I see on the school board that don't make a lot of sense to me or are not very transparent to the public. So these are the kind of things that I believe that we would like to bring to the board at the slate of candidates.
Great. So I'm going to press in a little bit here. So I want to hear from Linda on this one. Linda, what has to change? You are one of the ones that are always up there carrying that banner. Tim just talked about some of these things have to change. What specifically do you want to see change in Guilford County Schools?
Well, the key to this is that the board is supposed to be controlling the direction of the school system.
It doesn't?
Not right now, it doesn't. We know that if you watch, there's never any pushback. There's always just a yes agenda to anything put forward. And anytime you start to try to have a discussion or make your point on maybe why you don't agree with what's on, what the item is currently on topic, you get pushback about how dare you question, what's going on. The superintendent knows it all. The superintendent is the best thing since sliced bread. And therefore, you should just accept what the superintendent is putting forth. So there again, this board is not doing its job. This board is a submissive to the superintendent. Now, I want a board that's going to do their job. They're going to do their homework, and they're going to debate issues and make decisions in the best interest of children. And it's not, I want to get the politics out. Right now, we have a ton of politics that are going on in our schools, and we got to get the politics out and start educating kids.
So essentially, this school board is the handmaid to the superintendent. Essentially, we've got our own version of the Handmaid's Tale that's going on here. So it's very strange. Robert, you are not a Republican. Tim is, Chrissy is, and Linda is, but you are not. How in the world did you, as an independent, get wrapped in with such bad company like the Republican Party? Oh, you are muted, by the way, Tim. I'm sorry, Robert.
Robert. Okay.
So, yeah. And you are still muted. Not
all
yet.
Right. Turn your volume up.
Still not.
Oh, I thought we had him a minute.
Do this. Sign in on your phone. Go ahead and sign in on your phones because we were hearing you on your phone. Just keep on your computer camera, and we'll be able to hear you there. And while he's doing that, Tim,
Yes.
what is it now? We've got a major issue in our school system across the nation. It's very obvious that you are an African American.
Yes.
We've got this CRT thing that is happening. Everybody wants to talk about CRT this, CRT that. So what is it that we are seeing in our school districts that is causing our schools to want to really force this CRT stuff down our throats? And is that something you support, or are you going to buck that system?
So I have a different perspective on things because I'm a first generation American. My parents were immigrants. They, my brothers and sisters lived here. This is a land of opportunity. We've proven it. And my cousins have proven it. And my aunts and uncles and everyone else who have came to this country have proved it. Now, are there obstacles in life for minorities in certain places? Yes, there are obstacles in life for everyone. Different people have different obstacles. However, we know that this is a country where you can succeed if you follow principles. And the principles that we're talking about are really biblical principles. You treat people the way you want to be, you treat others the way you want to be treated. You work hard, and ultimately, it's God first. We know that. But when it comes down to it, I'm not supposed to render evil for evil. I'm not supposed to think evil. And if I'm assuming that someone has a specific characteristic by the color of their skin, then I'm thinking evil of them. And we're not supposed to do that. So it's interesting that, I've taken privilege tests, and my wife has taken privilege tests. And my wife, grew up poor, single parent. She is not, the classic underprivileged kid, and I have not. But when people look at me, they assume, oh, well, you're Black, you must have been underprivileged. We have to treat people as individuals, not monolithic blocks of color.
Good
and
point.
That's really what we need to do. So if people define CRT as teaching the uglier parts of American history, then by all means we should teach that because it's history, it happened. If by definition CRT to some people means that we have to look at everything within the lens of race and color and all the other categories, then I have a problem with that.
That makes a lot of sense. And Linda, I want to come to you in just a minute on that with that same question. But Robert, let's mute your computer and then unmute your phone, and I am dying to hear how an independent got wrapped up with this bad company that we call the GOP or the Republican Party. I'm just dying to hear that.
Okay, well, I knew you'd ask me something along the lines of, how did I get thrown in with this basket of deplorables? They found me, quite honestly. I was looking for a role. I was looking for a way to lead and make a difference. And they found me, fortunately. And what makes us all the same is not our political party. It's the fact that we're conservatives. I am a registered independent, have been so for about 20 years, but quite honestly, I lean very conservative in all of the areas that are pertinent to the school board. And that's the answer to your first question. Is not only what is it going to take to make a difference in having a board that somewhat thinks alike, but it's going to take numbers. It's going to take 4 or 5 people who think conservatively and vote conservatively in the decisions that affect our school board to make a difference. And that's why we need the team. One person can't do it alone to run a campaign, and one person this fall is not going to make a difference. We need 4, in addition to Linda.
Right, that's right. So Robert, real quick, I'm very curious here as well. You've got a construction background, and
I do, yes.
And so the Guilford County Schools right now is dealing with this, talking about this $1.7 billion bond. So, and this is a question I want Robert to start with, then I want to go to Linda and come back to Tim on it. So you guys don't support the bond. You're essentially saying no for now. So how can you justify not giving the schools this money when we all know that the buildings are falling apart. The buildings are in terrible shape. They have not been maintained as well as they should be. How can you possibly go out there and justify not supporting $1.7 billion to put a big dent in the $2 billion that has been identified as needs in this school? We'll start with Robert, then go to Linda.
I believe it's because we can't trust the current board to spend the money.
Amen.
We don't have a good indication of where they spent the money since 2016. They won't tell us after repeated FOIA requests. And I believe that just as easily as they recommended the bond this year, we can recommend a bond in a future election once we get a look at what's been going on in the last 5 years, see where the money's being spent, and make sure our books are clean and we've got responsible people at the helm, and then determine how much money we need. $1.7 billion seems like an awful lot of money.
It is an awful lot of money. And Linda, I want to hear from you here, but I want to color it as this. The purchasing and the finance department, what is Robert talking about that wanted to see the clean books? You all had a clean audit for 20 some years. What is he talking about? Where is the money that has gone for the maintenance of our schools and the construction? You've been on the board. Where is it?
Well, clean audit only means that they technically did the accounting process correctly. It does not how the money is being spent. Nor do we see, like, the one that drives me crazy. We spent $3 million on professional development during COVID when we're all virtual. And I said, how are we going to get that done? Is it going to be done well? And I had no clue if it ever got done. All right. So, but they went ahead and passed that. Why would you pass professional development during a COVID time? But let's get back to the bond. We just passed $300 million back in November of 2020. To date, all we've done is design schools, and we've done that at a cost of $24 million. Okay, that seems extravagant to me. And we have not totally bid one project to completion to actually see what the costs are going to be. I wonder why. And when we were looking at discussing the Kaiser project, I asked the architects there. We allocated $55 million for that project. And I said, are we designing these schools to fit within that constraint? And Dr. Contreras did not allow them to answer that question. She answered that question for them and stated, well, now, Linda, you know that's going to cost 2 to 3 times more. Well, if we do our math, we know that that's $110 million to $165 million of that $300 million. How many projects are you going to get done at that rate? So, and here's my other major issue. I don't know how many times I've heard of heating and air going out right now. Why are we not focused on making sure that we have assessed all our heating and air, assessed all our roofs? Because that's the 2 things that we hit on is roofing and HC. So why don't we have a major plan for all the schools to make sure that that's a priority? It should be a priority. We were shut down. People have brought up, we were shut down for 2 years. Why weren't we focused on that HVAC? Why weren't we focused on that roofing? We have our priorities skewed. Why do we need to build these fancy buildings when we can't maintain the ones that we have? And, if we can't make that $300 million work the way we're supposed to make it work and get the projects in that we have stated that we're going to get in, what are we going to do with the $1.7 billion? And then the county commissioners just stated, did a process I saw, and Tim went to the county commissioners about what it was going to cost to the taxpayers to fund that $1.7 billion. So we got a lot of problems.
So, Linda, will you go on record by saying that you're demanding a forensic audit?
Yeah, if I get a board that'll support it, absolutely.
What about you, Robert?
Absolutely.
What about you, Tim?
Yes, I think it's necessary. And one of 2 things will happen. We'll either see that everything's hunky-dory and they've been doing the job greatly, or there are issues that we need to fix. But I would support a forensic audit.
There are things that the liberals hate more than anything, and that is forensic audits. They hate showing receipts.
And I would also point out to you guys when you get there, and Linda, something you could check on yourself now. Make sure that you ask the finance department about journal entries, because journal entries are these transactions that are done on the side that are not necessarily monitored. So Tim, I want to come back to you on this. So Linda made a great point of why would we don't do this with our own finances when you haven't managed $330 million real well. Why in the world would we want the taxpayers to give another $1.7 billion? It's not like that the bank's going to hand you, and if you haven't managed $50,000 well, they're not going to hand you and say, all right, here's $100,000 to do with that. So
Right.
Why would anybody do that? And talk to us about that bond issue from your perspective.
So interesting enough, so yesterday in the High Point Enterprise, because I did listen into the county commissioner's meeting, and they mentioned that they need another $50 million a year in revenue through 2038 to pay off this bond. So, if this bond passes, we're on the hook for that. We, you, I, all the taxpayers. Again, the schools absolutely need repairs and things like that. But one of the things I did when I was on active duty in the Marine Corps was a maintenance officer. So we always had a plan. We want to have more preventive maintenance in our plan than corrective maintenance. So we need to have some kind of detailed formal plan to maintain things so we won't have to do this again in another 20, 30 years. Are we spending enough money to maintain what we have? The budget that was presented, about 1.1% of the budget goes to maintenance. I'd like to dig into that a little bit more, but it seems a little light to me because, again, we have 127 schools and all of these facilities. We have to maintain them, or else we're just going to keep going down this rabbit hole. So I'm very hesitant on this bond. I mean, it's the other thing that makes me interesting is that why are we pushing it so hard on the primary? We know that most people don't really pay attention to primaries. Maybe this should have been the general where more people are paying attention to it. What I've been doing is telling people, go read, understand what you're really voting for, because it's one thing to pull on the heartstrings of, we need stuff for kids. We absolutely need to, kids deserve safe schools, cool in the summer, warm in the winter schools and everything else like that. But is this methodology we're doing the best way? If you look at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, they all look the same. They build things all the time. They get them quickly. There's standardization. All of these schools look different. Is there some kind of economy of scale that we should be looking at where the schools can be, I know every lot is a little bit different, but do they have to be drastically different? Can they be more standardized so we can save taxpayer money and potentially build these things faster? These are questions that I would like to bring up to the board if I'm on the board.
Putting the bond on the primary was strategic.
Yes.
You can bet your life on that.
Most likely, most definitely. Dr. Daniel, question for you. These folks, along with Chrissy, are being, I don't know if everybody realizes, and I think a lot of our listeners do realize, though, and I think that these folks realize that the magnitude of the expectancy from God here, that they are being charged with stewardship of public dollars and of dollars that don't belong to them. How much more should stewardship be an important aspect of this, good stewardship, as even more so than our own finances?
Well, I think we've mentioned this other times in other settings. You study your Bible, God gave three major stewardships to us. And the first was the home, the second was the place of worship, and the third was the government. And the schools are our responsibility, not the school boards and not the county commissioners. And we need to step up to the plate and exercise great stewardship. And I think looking at the New Vision, New Direction people, each one of these folks is coming to the plate with God-given abilities and talents and skills that have been developed in education and training, building, project management. I mean, there's all sorts of unique things to each person. And I just see that God's given us a big wake-up call. It's time to wake up, get these good, conservative, right-thinking people on the board and let it run right for the first time in God knows when. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing that Anita and Linda are the only ones voting right. And I want to see these folks in.
So, yeah, I think that's, I absolutely agree. So I've got a question, though, and we'll start with Robert on this, that how involved do you think the school board should be when we're talking about stewardship? One of the greatest aspects of stewardship that you all will have and that we all have as a community is the stewardship of our children and ensuring that we raise our children right. Proverbs 22:6 tells us to train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So how involved do you think the school board should be in the day-to-day curriculum that is presented to our children in the classroom? So we'll start with Robert on that.
Hopefully not terribly involved in the day-to-day. In the curriculum, yes, same as the maintenance and all other aspects of what goes on in the school system. It's going to be about finding the right superintendent that will follow our directives rather than the tail wagging the dog like we have.
Amen. Amen.
That's
Right.
my short.
I love it. I think that's a great answer. Linda, what do you think? How involved should the school board be in ensuring that the curriculum is what it should be?
Well, when you're looking at nationally that only a third of our eighth grade students are reading and doing math proficiently, I think we need to focus on reading, math, and the basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. And we need to make sure that that's where our focus is, because clearly adding all this other, we're eating up instructional time that is very valuable, and we need to make sure that our focus is on what it's supposed to be on, which is educating kids in the core foundation of education. So, but, right now with the current leadership, getting anything, any information, as everybody well knows by all the FOIA requests that have come in, and even as a sitting board member, getting information about things is very difficult. If they just don't want to provide, which shouldn't be hard for me, but it is hard for me to get information. So we've got
the superintendent announced her resignation. Hasn't the superintendent announced her resignation?
Yes.
She has announced it. However,
when is she leaving?
No, it was only intent. I don't think there's been an official letter, has there?
No, there's no. We do not have an official resignation, and we are. One of my jobs this weekend is to look through some recruiting firms to supposedly hire a new superintendent. And my question to our lawyer was, we should, before you go hire a recruiting firm, you should have a resignation in hand, or that's false advertising, because you don't have a position until you legally have a resignation. So we'll see if by the time we get this RFP, we have an RFP, by the time maybe we contract with one of these, that we should have a resignation. Because actually that would be false advertising for those that, decide to pursue this. And then, if you don't have a resignation, who knows, right? So I'm hoping to get one.
I know a guy.
I do too.
He's as far as we can go on that.
Well,
so we're gonna move on. Tim, Tim, what is your thoughts on the curriculum? And where I'm getting with this really is, we've got a big issue that is happening in the nation about that we are focusing, rather than what Linda was talking about on the basics, we're focusing on social emotional learning. We're focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion, on genders, on LGBT. And that's what the curriculum is really focused on now, instead of actually teaching our children. How involved should the board be on this?
So the board's role is hire and evaluate a superintendent, set the budget, adopt and review curriculum, and adopt policies. So we're the conduit for parents to give input on what's going on. So no, the board doesn't do the day-to-day administrative stuff that the superintendent is for. However, we certainly do provide direction and vision and oversight on what's going on. So when it comes to things like that, especially things that parents do not want to see, we absolutely have authority to give suggestions, recommendations, directions to the superintendent. So I want to know, as a board member, what is being taught, and then allow the parents to know what is being taught, and then let the parents decide. But if things are being done, I don't want to say in secret, but not out in the open, let's say that's a problem.
I agree.
What's your feelings on what's being taught to the teachers?
There's another problem. I'd like to see, we keep hearing that, the teachers need more training. In fact, they wanted to spend extra money on that training, building, things like that. Okay, well, great. What are they being trained on? Let's see it. Why can't a parent or even a school board member know what the teachers are being trained on? It should be transparent. And if it's something that we are spending tax dollars on, then let's see the return on investment. If we're spending this much money on this particular type of training, we should see a result of kids reading better, doing better on math, things like that. If that's the case, great, then we're doing our job. But if we're spending money on this type of training, whatever it is, and we're still not getting the results of educated children, then we have to readdress it.
So let me turn to you, Robert. Let's say, assuming, and let's be a name it and claim it type preacher today. Let's name that we're going to win. You're going to win. All of you is going to win. And you're in your first board meeting. What do you bring to the table? And what is something collectively that you want to accomplish that first month in the board?
What I bring to the table is common sense. We all have different backgrounds. Mine is in contracting. I'm a father, and I see what's going on in the world. And I feel like I'm more than capable of bringing my conservative ideology, the maintenance, as Tim said, and the status of the schools, in addition to the safety. I'd like to know exactly how safe everyone feels our schools are at the get-go, because I've talked to a lot of SROs that are concerned that we're not as safe as we need to be. And that's my biggest fear, is being responsible for something that maybe down the road that we could prevent. We need to get a handle on the safety.
I'm glad you brought that up, because not only should a school teach and provide a great quality education, but have to maintain the safety. A lot of the focus by the architects are on these grandiose buildings that end up costing multi-millions of dollars. The one thing that I have always noticed of politicians when they propose this building, the one thing they leave out, they do it purposely, but they fail to figure in the operating, the maintenance, the preventive maintenance cost that's going to be along with that building. You can't just build a building and say, we're done. There's operating cost. But nevertheless, safety is the issue, especially with our children. What type of, in the last session when we talked to Chrissy Pratt, she and Stephanie Mitchell brought up the idea of cameras that don't even work.
Exactly.
Linda, can you shed any light on that for us?
Well, there again, we're not focusing on what needs to be. We should have priorities. That should be safety. It should be heating or environmental to keep our students comfortable so they can learn. And all this has gone by the wayside. I've asked, you have to ask, why are those cameras not working? And we've had security funding, and it was supposed to be put towards security. Cameras would fall into that category. Clearly, we're falling down on our job. But anytime,
I'd say the administration is failing.
Well, I would hate to say I agree. I wouldn't be here if I didn't
they have
agree.
failed the students.
we're failing our students in a lot of ways. In my book, we're not providing them, you know, we're failing our staffing. You know, when you said, what will you do if you get a new board? The first thing the staffing wants is to have voice. The first thing, people are scared to step up and say what's going on in our schools. That we've got to rebuild that confidence and assure, whether it's at the administrative level, the teacher level, the parent level, that we want to hear from them and we want to hear the truth. And we're not going to shoot the messenger. Right now, it is people are intimidated to say anything. So you cannot get a straight story. The other thing, I talked to a grandmother the other day and she said her second grader came home, because we all want to think that some of this genderism and other things are not in our school. But she said her granddaughter came home and said, Grandma, they told me I could be a boy. So, and Grandma's had to correct that. And our problem is I don't know that it's throughout the school system or if it's individual teachers doing it. Yep. But we're getting to the point where we have to tell our children, if anybody tells you not to tell your parent, that's a flag. And that's a red flag. Yep. That's a red flag, and you need to tell you. And I hate that we're getting to that point, but if that's where we're kind of getting, because we can't trust totally what's going on in the school system. So, and I just have a real problem because children have to be comfortable telling their parent anything. We're their safety,
And they are given to us. They're not given to the government. They're not given to anyone. They're our possession. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but they're our possessions because they're given to us as gifts from God.
Exactly.
Tim, you got anything to add on that?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I want to evaluate, as a board member with oversight authority, evaluate the staff. And I cannot find an organizational chart, and it's not easily found. There's been FOIA requests. And again, I'm not asking for confidential information like salaries, or I just want to know who is in this department and who's doing what. That would give an indication of things that perhaps that can be run a little bit more efficiently. From an old org chart I've seen, why do we have an executive director of equity and student achievement and an executive director of equity inclusion and an executive director of student management and a dean of students? Just off the top of my head, it seems to be top heavy. Now, if somebody can explain to me that we need all these positions and this is what they're doing, great. But again, these are things that should be out in the open, and someone from the public should be able to say, oh, okay, we need these positions and this is the great work they're doing and this is the return of our investment. I'll be fine. But I don't see that. No. I want to be able to see it. I want to be able to provide that oversight and have the public be confident that we're doing the right thing for our kids.
Whenever you have someone called executive director for inclusion and equity, it's always the very opposite of what they're saying it is. It's indoctrination. That's garbage. You don't need it. Strike it from the budget. All right. Robert, what about you? Add to what Tim just said. What needs to happen?
Well, I want to hit again on what you brought up and Linda mentioned is if the cameras are only working, as we're told, in about half the schools at best, that's a real problem. We need to get all the cameras working at every school. And that's an easy priority to measure success with. Something that,
and your background is construction. If you did that on a job site, you would be fired.
Yeah.
I mean, am I right?
If I operated without a camera?
Well, no, if you operated and done shoddy work and didn't keep up what the country,
absolutely. We could spend the rest of the day talking about things that in the private sector would not cause you to lose your business that we do right now in our school system. So you're exactly right. And I'm a firm believer that they don't want us to see what's going on inside the schools. Yeah. And that's why they let the cameras be off for as long as they have.
I think you hit the nail on the head. All right.
And Daniel, I want you guys to be looking as you go into office Why are we losing so many teachers?
Yep.
Quality teachers.
What are they forcing on teachers with? And here's one of Pastor Mashburn's favorite words: agendas. These woke agendas and things, and they're teaching them to the teachers, and they can say they're not, but they are. I've got family that's been there, and family that's walked away because of mistreatment and maltreatment in the teaching end of it. And we need to check on the teachers as well as the students and make sure they're being handled properly.
Yes.
Exactly. Hey, we've got to wrap it up. I appreciate you sharing our day. We're going to go around. Linda, how can our viewers, how can our listeners find you on social media, find your website?
Well, currently I have a Facebook page, Re-elect Linda Welborn. I'll be working on a website. I'm a little slow since I didn't have the primary. I didn't get it up as fast, but it will be getting up there. And just, look for me. My name is out there. My phone number's on the Guilford County webpage, so I'm easy to kind of find. So if you need me, look me up. There'll be more coming. I'm going to get rolling here soon because now I've got to get through the general. But just look me up. If you want to talk about something, give me a ring. My phone number's out there on that Facebook page.
Sounds great. Robert, how can they find you?
Well, most importantly, since we're on the radio, it's Robert Millican, Millican. And I'm on the web and on Facebook at Millican for School Board. And you can also email me at Millican for School Board. And in all cases, that's FOR, Millican for School Board at gmail.com.
Now, you have to have signatures to get on the ballot. Is that correct?
I do. Because I'm not affiliated, I've got to get signatures by the primary date at midnight to be on the ballot for November.
Okay. So how many do you need now?
Several hundred more.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We need everyone. And does that just have to be from your district or from the
Yes, they
whole
have
county?
to be. Unfortunately, they have to be from District 8.
Okay.
But you can find the information you need to find out if you're in my district on my website or on Facebook, or if you're not sure, you can always email me and I'll help you through the process.
So if you're in District 8, look this man up and please sign on that.
And if you'll sign a petition, I'll come and get it from you.
Hey, can't do any better than that. All right, Tim, how can we find you on the web?
Okay, so my website is Tim Andrew, ANDREW, the number 4, BOE.com. That's Tim Andrew, the number 4, BOE.com. I'm also on Facebook at Tim Andrew 4 BOE. And my email address is timandrew4boe at gmail.com. And I'm also on Instagram, the same thing, at timandrew4boe.
All right, sounds great. Dr. Daniel, you got any parting words? Any wise words of wisdom?
Well, as my football coach used to say, get out there and kill them. Hey, we love all of you guys. This is a novel thing that y'all are doing, and it's wonderful. And I'm looking forward to a great success for you.
Hey, we want
Thank you
to
so
win.
much for having us.
Thank you.
We want you to win. We're praying for you. We know that this is not just about an election. This is spiritual warfare.
Yep.
So we're praying for you. We're praying for your homes, praying for your businesses, and praying that you will win. Okay?
Yep.
God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, our listeners and our viewers, for joining us as well. God bless you.
Thank you.